wondering how close to home, this is a question you're going to get a lot, is this story very true to your life or just part of it?
Parts of it is very, very true. I didn't have, I've never become an alcoholic. I'm not a recovering alcoholic. I've never taken drugs, but everything related to the fact that I have an autistic son. I just retired from the New York City Fire Department, and the fact that I don't have a good history with my father because he is an alcoholic to this day. So that part of the film, which is the turning point for this character on his journey, is really completely true. Everything that was said to me as a child, I was picked on by kids, not accepted by my dad because I was looked at as different. I wasn't that all-star, athlete kid, and pretty much everybody made fun of me that I came across. And finally, once I got into martial arts years ago when I was 13 years old, that's when I was surrounded by positive people who accepted me for who I am, not what I am. And they accepted the exterior regardless of how I looked. And that's a big problem, as we know today, with bullying, with whether you're gay or overweight or you look different or you have a disfigurement. Kids are cruel. And years ago, the difference is we didn't have technology where we could just go home from school and we could hide from that,
Yeah.
and then we just have to face it the next day. But nowadays, it's with you all the time. People go onto your Twitter page, your Instagram, your Facebook, and they say cruel things. You read about it.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. So it's very hard to get away from.
Now, in the film, one of the big, turning points that it turns around is your character has a cleft lip, and I know that this is a cause of yours. But I will be honest with you; it is unclear to me, and forgive me if it's an inappropriate question. Is it makeup, or do you also personally have a cleft lip?
No, nothing's impersonal for me. I'm an open book. Yeah, no, I was born with a cleft lip, cleft palate. I had a surgery when I was 6 months old, and then when I got older, I had several more surgeries to, touch it up. But for the film, we do enhance it with something called, I think it's called Collodion Ridge,
Okay.
and the makeup girl told me about it, and it's amazing how it's like a liquid that goes on the lip. Once it dries, it gives the impression of the lip being separated,
Uh-huh.
just to enhance it. So we did enhance it because we wanted to make sure the audience picked up that this guy obviously has a disability, a disfigurement, and this is a big thing that's affected him as a child and stayed with him even through adulthood.
And again, not to be inappropriate, but it was something that affected you greatly as a child.
Oh, tremendously. I mean, I can think back specific times right now, and it's clear as day, like rewinding a videotape. Yeah, I remember exactly how the kids taunted me, how they made fun of me. I was almost killed twice by some kids in my neighborhood. I grew up in a pretty rough neighborhood. But once I put the martial art uniform on, and my dad says, "Make sure you come home wearing that uniform. Let everybody see it." Oh, they forget it. They want to be my buddy. They wanted to play baseball and football with me, and they respected me because you had to prove yourself in the neighborhood that I grew up in.
Well, I'm glad that you found something that made it better, and I'm appalled that anybody, whenever I hear about bullying, I'm appalled. But I'm curious whether, like in the film, if this has helped you with dealing with your son getting a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder.
When my son, I told my wife, because when I was a fireman, I was home all the time, a lot more than her. Because of my schedule, I noticed a big change in him, that he was not playing with his toys like a typical 1.5-year-old.
Yeah.
He was just lining them up. He would look at, the rug and see like little pieces of flint, pick it up, and he would have to throw it out, or he'd get something like food on the corner of his mouth, and he would freak out. So he was his senses to touch and taste and smell and sound were very heightened. And I told my wife that something seems different. He seems regressing. And and I'm not saying this vaccinations have anything to do with it. I don't know. I'm on the fence because until you can tell us what is causing it, I don't rule anything out. But it is coincidental maybe that right after the Hep B shot, which we had declined when he was born, Right after that, he started to change.
Okay.
Now, maybe within the genes, the hormones, the chromosomes in our body, giving the shot itself maybe doesn't give you autism, but maybe it triggers what you already have, sort of like a cold, that
Yeah.
you have germ and the cold weather will trigger that cold to come
Yes.
out. I don't know. And most people don't. But no, I was very accepting of it. I was fine with it. My concern was not a problem accepting my son being different and being there for him. My concern is when I leave this world, and if I go on to the next, or I end up in the grave 6 feet under, wherever I go, that my son is taken care of, that he can take care of himself, he's
Yes.
independent. And I just was concerned. So my wife and I decided to have a second child just to make sure that he's not alone. So he has a 4.5 year old brother that loves him to death, that adores him. And I think that's helped him also progress with
Yes.
his speech and responding and love and affection. And thank God he gives love and affection, makes eye contact. He is verbal. He's not nonverbal. So he's somewhat mild on the spectrum compared to some of my friends that I know.